couple
Warm dudes, bro.
dudes.
We're nothing but warm over here. Lukewarm.
Skywalker.
Scott, wow. Shout out Star Wars.
Shout out Star Wars. I don't even watch it. No, not much about it. Not a Star Wars guy. I know. That's usually the look I get. That is usually the look I get.
Cut the podcast. We're watching episode 4.
You don't even know who I am. You think you know somebody.
You've never seen a single episode of Star Wars?
No, I have. I was made to watch them. I watched 1 through 6, but I did it 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, like they came out.
That's the way you have to.
I watched nothing else. And my favorite is Star Wars Episode 2, and my favorite character is Jar Jar Binks. I'm like, totally, I'm not Star Wars. Everyone's like, really? That's your favorite one? That's the one everyone hates the most. And the character that people like the least is Jar Jar Binks. And I was completely opposite. I don't know why.
You know, Jar Jar was really in episode 1.
Oh. Well, yeah, I know that. But I'm saying...
I couldn't let our listeners not know, like, we don't know Star Wars. Like, I know Star Wars,
No,
guys.
but I'm saying my favorite movie was 2.
Was 2.
My favorite character was 1.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because 2 is where they do that crazy battle, right? And the dude in, like, the Grand Canyon looking thing.
Wars? Yes.
Yeah. Thing is nuts.
The Clone Wars.
Loved it. Loved it.
It wasn't the best, I'll tell you that, but
what's going on, guys? We are live from the Spear adjacent in Las Vegas, Nevada, kind of. We're near the Spear. We're closer than you are, probably, maybe.
It's somewhere over there.
Yeah, Spear adjacent. This is Watch the Throne Fantasy Football Show. It is Wednesday, September 25th, 2024. I'm Al with
Big Gabe.
Yo, I got it right. I got the point right. Yes. Let's go.
Is that a first? Is that the first time you got it right, actually?
That's a first. Yes, it is.
Wow.
Big time.
Now you got to memorize that.
I told you I felt the most prepped of any episode we've done so far tonight.
He only took 10 episodes.
Only took 10 episodes. This is episode 9. This is episode 9 right now.
Episode 9. So,
yep. Only took 9 episodes. I got there, and now I jinxed myself, and I'm going to look like a fool the rest of the episode, I bet.
Well, we'll just cut it right here.
And
Scene. We'll call it a podcast for the night.
Thank you, episode 9.
W's for Al.
Ray can't be with us tonight, but you see he's got his championship photo there with the belt and the chain and the pop with the chain, man. But Ray's not with us tonight.
Do you want to tell him what happened with Ray real quick? Someone died.
What?
Someone died.
Who?
His soundboard.
Okay.
His soundboard died. It just
so extreme. It's
so
dramatic.
Do this. I'm out of here.
It did. It died literally as we were firing up the show. He said, well, I guess my soundboard is ducked.
What happened was he was like, Brock Purdy and the Niners, and the soundboard was like, I'm out.
Oh, Gabe never misses an opportunity to poo-poo on other people's favorite team. Never does.
He went to Germany with Christian McCaffery.
Oh, man. I know. That makes me sad. Today's episode, we're going to do no news and notes. We're going to kind of hit it as we cover the shows. So we have our boom and bust of the week 4. That's a barking dog.
Who let the dogs out? Who? You hear that? He was ready for you announced week 4. The dog went crazy.
Yep. And she's going to keep going. She's going to keep going because there's probably
excited
another
about
dog.
week 4, just like we all are.
Yep. There's probably another dog barking, and and she's like, wait, I want to talk to you too. What are we talking about? Are we talking about week 4? And they're talking about week 4. Yeah.
Watch the Throne is on? Ruff, ruff, ruff.
Exactly. That's the way we got to bring in every episode now with you.
Who let the dogs out?
Who?
I got a roof.
Yeah, you got a roof.
Okay, got you.
So we'll mention one news and notes because you kind of just said it. Christian McCaffery going to Germany to get a second opinion on his Achilles, calf, leg, whatever is happening. That's terrifying for me as a Niners fan. that means maybe the American doctors told him that he has to be out for a while, and he's hoping that the German doctors are like, "No, you can play." I don't know what that was. But I think it just means he's going to see a specialist, and things are probably worse than we all know.
It doesn't sound good. I wish we had like breaking news right now. He signed with Bayern Munich for the Premier League. He's going to play football.
Cut it out.
Instead of football. As someone who got Christian McCaffery in one league, in our Yahoo league, it sucks. I'm just sitting on there waiting on him, and I'm actually at a point where I give it one more week after this week because I think there will be some trade value because now he missed 3 games. He can possibly come back for week 5. Or I'm sorry, week 6 for him because he was after week 1. Yep. So if you have Christian McCaffery, I think you might want to try to trade him after this week. I'm going to certainly look into it. It's really tough because he hasn't played all season, but we know the value and talent of Christian McCaffery, of the number 1 pick and the number 1 player in fantasy football. So it's going to be one of those tough decisions. You have to evaluate your team. If you feel like your team's in a good place, you might want to trade him. But if you really feel like you need him for the deep run in the end in the playoffs, might hold on to him.
What do you think you could actually get for him at this current moment?
I'll let you on a little insight because I think I texted it to the group. I almost made a trade. I believe the initial offer was Najee Harris and Tank Dell for Christian McCaffery. I turned it down because I can't do Tank Dell because I already have Stephon Diggs. And CJ Stroud. So I was like, I don't want that many Houston Texans. I tried to get Malik Neighbors. Now, this was after week 1 before Malik Neighbors went off. Yeah. Clearly, that's not going to happen anymore.
Right.
It's going to be tough. You're not going to get as much as you like. You're not going to get
what you want.
Saquon or Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, not even probably Kyron Williams. You're going to have to settle a little bit. I would take 2 average starters, though, and call it a day.
Let me ask you these. Would you trade Christian McCaffery for Devin Singletary right now?
No.
Okay.
No.
Would you trade Christian McCaffery for Joe Mixon right now?
That's a tough one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I'd probably take Joe Mixon for that. If someone offered me Joe Mixon for Christian McCaffery, I would take that trade.
I think I would too. Would you trade Christian McCaffery for Zach Moss?
No, I can't do Zach Moss.
James Cook.
Yeah, I would take James Cook.
Josh Jacobs.
I would take Josh Jacobs, yeah.
Okay.
Here's one. I have an Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones. I would not for Aaron Jones. I'm
not an
Aaron Jones believer, though.
I do like Aaron Jones, but I'm with you. I don't think he contains it for 16 games or 17 games now.
Who else? You got another back for me?
I don't know. How about receiver? Let's switch to the receiver. Would you trade Nico Collins Christian McCaffrey for Nico Collins?
Yeah, I would right away.
I think that's an obvious one.
Right away.
Christian McCaffrey. Let's go for Stephon Diggs.
Probably.
Let's see if I go a little lower. Let's see how George Pickens.
Yes.
Wow, that was
George.
Yes.
He's gonna be his rest of year. I think he's gonna go crazy.
He's had a tough schedule so far. He's played some pretty good
improve. Justin Fields will be better throwing the ball. If Russell Wilson comes in, you got to think he'll be able to throw him the ball. I think Pickens is, yes, for sure. If you can go trade for Pickens, I would do it.
Okay. I like it.
All right. Travis Kelce for Christian McCaffrey.
No. Pass. I know.
Sam Laporta.
No. Ooh, here's a good one. Travis Kelce and Najee Harris.
Yeah. If I would trade a current situation Christian McCaffrey for 2 healthy players right now, as long as they're not 2 absolute bums, I would take 2 healthy guys for an IR Christian McCaffery right now.
Yeah, I think if I can start him, I got to trade Christian McCaffery. If I have 2 guys coming in that I can start on my team that are going to be valuable, I think I would do it.
We're off the script sometimes, and that's what we just did. We went off the script.
Yeah,
I said no news and notes, and we just stayed in it for 10 minutes and 50 seconds.
Al said, we're going to do news and notes, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. It's part of the rundown.
My bad, host.
Sorry.
Host with the most.
I just blacked out. Sorry. Let's go into our boom and bust. Here's my boom of the week. You're going to love it. You already know.
Wow.
My thoughts on this cat, on this dude, on this foe. Bucky Irving, running back, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Philadelphia is allowing 5.4 yards per carry to opposing backs, and Rachaad White is playing himself right out of the starting job. And there was a quote earlier this week from the head coach saying, Bucky has certainly earned an increased role and more playing time in this offense. They started putting him and White both on the field last week quite a bit. And I think I think this might be the week that he has more carries, many more carries. I think this is the week that Rachaad White really takes a true backseat. And I think Bucky shows his explosiveness and pops a couple times early and has the hot hand the rest of the way.
If you look at Sunday's game, Bucky had more carries. He had 9 carries to Rachaad White's 6. Game script was kind of, Tampa Bay was behind the whole time. Mm-hmm. But either way, Bucky Irving getting more carries, I think it's definitely newsworthy. We talked about it last week. Bucky Irving's average per yards is much higher than Rachaad White. Rachaad White is inefficient. Rachaad White is a really good pass catching back, and he was really effective last year and really one of the top fantasy backs last year because of the catches and touchdowns. He's not getting the touchdowns this year so far. It's only 3 games. I think he's got 1. Yep. But Bucky Irving has been the superior running back and the better running back. So I'm not mad at this. They have a favorable matchup this week. You figure they'll get back into it. Tampa Bay just had it was just a weird week last week with a lot of underdogs. But, Tampa Bay back at home against the Eagles, who don't have the greatest run defense. I like Bucky. And Bucky Irving is just so explosive. So I like it. I hope he gets more carries. I'm behind it.
9 carries for 70 yards last week. Week 1, 9 carries for 62. Week 2, bit of a dud, 7 carries for 22 yards. He also had 3 catches last week and 2 catches week 1. So he can catch the ball out of the backfield too, which is why I think Rachaad really starts to take a serious backseat this week. And that's why I have Bucky Irving as my boom of the week. I think he clears 100 yards from scrimmage and probably finds pay dirt, which is huge for fantasy.
If he has that's you're talking about RB2 status.
It's the boom of the week.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
Boom of the week. Let's go to my bust. That one's crazy.
What?
That one's crazy.
I hate it, but I
have Jonathan Taylor in a league. And when I saw your guys' bust of the week come in, I was like, I'm the only one taking real shots here. Bucky Irving as a boom, Jonathan Taylor as a bust. We'll wait till we get to yours. Just calm down.
Look. Okay, go ahead. I'll wait. Go ahead.
Jonathan Taylor. Steelers defense only allowing 3.5 yards per carry, and they have actually faced good competition at running back. Sans week 2 maybe. Week 1, they held Bijan Robinson under 70 yards rushing. Week 2, they held the Broncos as a team under 65 yards. The leading rusher for the Broncos in week 2 was Bo Nix with 25 yards. So that tells you how well they stopped the run of Javonte and Jalil, who've been trash to start the year, respectfully. And then week 3, they held the Chargers, who were like the best rushing team in football, under 65 yards as a team. J.K. Dobbins, only 2.9 yards per carry against the Steelers defense. I think they just stopped the run. They stopped the hell out of the run. And unfortunately, up to this point in the season, you're not afraid of the Colts passing the ball. So they're going to zero in on Jonathan Taylor. They're going to zero on Anthony Richardson trying to run it. It's going to be a low-scoring affair, and I think Taylor's just going to have really, really tough sledding this weekend. So that's my bust of the week. And Taylor's had an excellent start to the season as well.
The one part I think I would disagree with you on is that, well, with the exception of Bijan, I think we all agree that Bijan is a top running back, is the competition. Like, I know J.K. Dobbins has been hot. I do think that's kind of a result of who they've been playing. I do think the Chargers have had not an easy schedule, but it's been a favorable schedule. So I do hear you on that. I do think the Steelers have a good defense, but the Colts, they just have to run the ball. And Jonathan Taylor, he's been really effective this year. He's been solid.
Yeah.
I hope they get him more touches and more carries. What he's missing are those touchdowns. The Colts offense is just not scoring right now. They're not even getting down the field really, and we all know who that's a result of at the time. And if they can if he can get a touchdown a game, Jonathan Taylor becomes a RB1. It's probably top 5 every week. He's getting the yardage, and he's not a big PPR guy. He's not getting catches, so he's got to get those touchdowns, and that's very effective. And the Steelers are a very good defense. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to discredit them of who they played, but I will say I can see Jonathan Taylor with maybe like 70, 80 yards.
See, and I took into account the fact that Jonathan Taylor isn't really a pass catcher. Because I'm sure if he was able to catch some balls out of the backfield, he would get his. You know what I mean? Enough to where I couldn't call him a bust. And this is me. I'm being real bold this week, right? So I went with whoever I went with for my boom. I literally forgot. I just had it up. I literally forgot already. I just had it.
Your boy Bucky.
It was Bucky. See, I went Bucky bold. I'm ready to talk about my other bold thing. I'm so excited about that one.
I know.
I went Jonathan Taylor on the bus. So just being bold. We'll see how it plays out. I'm trying to sound smart. Like I said to you off air, I might fall flat on my face. But if I don't, I'm going to be bragging in our group chats across the board.
Look, go for it, man. That's what fantasy football is all about. It's never how we plan it to be. So
standing on the throne.
That limb. Stand on that throne.
Gabe, how about your boom of the week?
This one's a little, touches to home. The way they reacted on the sideline last year, it kind of had a similar spat last year. And CeeDee Lamb went off after that. I'm sorry, last week they had a spat, but last year they had a similar spat. That's what I meant to say.
Do you see the note I put on your graphic?
Alpha wide receiver who got mad last week.
Equals boom. I mean, it does every time. Doesn't matter what team.
He's gonna be forced the ball.
Yep.
Like I don't be shocked if he has like 15 targets.
Yep.
He's gonna get the ball now. We're gonna force feed him.
Yep.
The Giants secondary is terrible. I don't think the only problem is I don't know if this is a competitive game. It could be. The Giants haven't beat the Cowboys in years. Like I was trying to think. It's been at least 5 years.
Yeah.
It feels like at least. But CeeDee Lamb is going to get his now. I think he realizes that he was part of the problem last week too. He had some drops. He fumbled inside the 10-yard line. You can't do that. Go on your little spat and expect to not ball out the next week.
Right.
And CeeDee Lamb, he's been mediocre. He hasn't had bad games, but he hasn't had that CeeDee Lamb game. I think this is going to be his first CeeDee Lamb game.
Yeah, anytime an alpha wide receiver gets upset, yells at their quarterback, yells at their coach, yells at whatever, throws their helmet at a Gatorade cooler, pushes a trainer, slaps an intern, they get fed. They get fed the next week. You know what I mean?
I want to know who was the slapping the intern receiver that got fed next week.
Don't worry about it. I can't spill his name. Sources. Anonymous.
Gotcha.
Gabe, your bust of the week. Talk about a putt. I'm kidding. This is a good one.
Yes. I think we all know Patrick Surtain is a monster corner. I think he's the best corner in the league. He's going to shadow Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson hasn't had that great game either this year yet. Actually, I think he's going to be a buy low candidate after this week. I think he has a bad week this week. But if you look at the Jets' schedule the rest of the way, it gets pretty favorable. So I do think if after this week, when he gets held for 3 catches for 30 yards, go and look for Garrett Wilson and to buy low. Maybe Christian McCaffery for Garrett Wilson. You like that one there?
I would do that.
Great. Yeah. So, well, actually, I kind of lied. It doesn't get easier. I thought it gets easier in the playoffs. Oh. Sorry about that. So the next so he's got the Vikings, the Bills, the Steelers, the Patriots, Texans, that gets tough.
Oh, the Vikings give up a lot in the air.
They do. Yeah. But then in November, they got the Texans, the Cardinals, the Colts, Seahawks, Dolphins, Jaguars, Rams. So there's the easy stretch right there. I kind of got it confused there, but you know what I mean. He might even want to maybe wait a week or two because he's still going to struggle a little bit. But I think Garrett Wilson's going to be a playoff guy that you want on your team.
I don't mind it. I think him and A-Rod will definitely make a connection throughout the season and grow and gel and mesh and whatever other word you want to use for chemistry. They will do by the end of the year.
But this week is going to be tough against Patrick Surtain. I think we all know that.
Yep. Would agree. I would agree, sir. Let's get into the games. What do you think?
Let's do it.
What do you fucking think? Sorry.
Let's do it, man.
Yell for no reason. Let's start with Thursday night. Dallas, New York Giants, Cowboys, Giants. It's in New York, at New York, Thursday night. Talk to me.
I was actually looking into going to this game, but I couldn't make it work. Cool. But obviously the Cowboys' run defense has been horrendous. So I think you're starting Devin Singletary. Malik Neighbors has been wide receiver 1. You're definitely starting him. Even if Trevon Diggs follows him, which as a Cowboys fan, I watch these things closely. Trevon Diggs sits on the right side sometimes. Now, sometimes he will shadow the number 1 receiver at times, but he doesn't do it for the whole game. So Malik Neighbors is going to get his. Devin Singletary from the Giants side, that's really it. Cowboy side, CeeDee Lamb, we already talked about. I do think Dak has a good game. I know there's a guy that you want to talk about that I'll leave for you.
Yep.
But I will say, if you're going to start a running back, like I have Rico Dowdle in a couple I'm starting just because either I lost Christian McCaffery or I have another injury or whatever the case may be. But I do have Rico Dowdle. He is going to be the guy. If you have Zeke, you can let him go. It just the last 2 weeks he's disappeared. I don't know why. Jake Ferguson obviously is a guy that you want to start too with tight ends just being so horrendous. He actually had a good game last week. He had 15 points in a return. So I think Jake Ferguson's going to be big going down the stretch for the Cowboys, and he's going to be one of the top tight ends.
I like it. I like the call on Fergie. Ferguson's going to turn it around eventually, and I think this is a great week to do it.
Yep. He missed a game with the injury. He left the Cleveland game early. I think he's actually going to be a top 5 tight end by the end of the year. So if you want to go try to buy low on Jake Ferguson before he blows up, now is the time.
Bang, bang, chicken and shrimp. So you mentioned that I want to talk about someone else on the Cowboy side of the ball. So you gracefully didn't mention him. But let's talk about him. Someone I want to see more is Jalen Tolbert. Move over, Cooks. It's Tolbert time. Jalen Tolbert in 162 snaps this year, which is a lot. It's third most on the team. Third most in the wide receivers room as well. 162 snaps. 10 catches, 136 yards, and a tut. Brandon Cooks has 9 more snaps. 2 less catches. 61 less yards. And the same amount of touchdowns. I think Jalen Tolbert is going to overtake. I'm big in the overtaking of depth chart positions this week between Bucky Irving and Jalen Tolbert. I think Tolbert's going to overtake Brandon Cooks on the depth chart. It might not happen this week, but I think with them playing the Giants, I think a lot of the focus is going to go to CeeDee Lamb, who's still going to ball out. I think you're right on the boom. I think Tolbert is going to finally – he's already had a couple good games, right? He had 6 catches for 82, and then followed that up with 3 catches for 42 and a touchdown. I think he's trending in the right direction, and I think he outplays Brandon Cooks this week and continues to do so the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean, he's got more yards. He's got more targets by one, like you mentioned. So he's outproducing Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is just out snapping him. Jalen Tolbert actually, and what I like to point out is Jalen Tolbert's averaging 13.6 yards per catch.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Cooks 9.4,
Mm-hmm.
which Brandon Cooks is supposed to be the big play threat. He hasn't really been that this year. So I do like where you're going with Jalen Tolbert. Jalen Tolbert's going to be a guy where you can play with bye weeks coming up, and we still got injuries. He's going to be a guy. This is the last week before we have buys. Week 5. We're 1 week away where buys are going to happen. You're going to have your stars missing, plus injuries on top of that. Jalen Tolbert's a guy worth rostering, and he's worth playing at some of these games. I think he's going to have a good game tomorrow. I wouldn't be shocked to see if he gets 100 yards. It's a little bold.
I like it.
I can see CeeDee Lamb and Jalen Tolbert having 100 yards.
I like it. I picked up Tolbert in a couple leagues, so I do practice what I preach, I guess. I have him in a Dynasty League. He's starting this week in my Dynasty League. It's a massive roster in the Dynasty League. I think we've got 3 running backs, 4 wide receivers, 2 quarterbacks, and like 3 flexes. So and 2 tight ends. There's so many positions. So Tolbert is
12
starting.
Man, right? Or 14? Is that 14?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it is. I think it might be 12.
You're in the league. You don't even know how many people are in it?
I just know how many I have to beat every year, and it's however many are behind me. It's however are behind me. I don't know what that was. That wasn't English, but for the record, I've not won that league yet. Just to be clear, I inherited the team.
It's probably because you don't know how many people are in the league.
True. Very true. I'm going to ask you a couple questions on the Giants side of the ball. I know that you mentioned Devin Singletary is a yes start, obviously. Malik Neighbors is a yes start. Daniel Jones, hell no. Okay. One guy that's interesting to me, and I've always been a fan of his, it's their wide receiver 2, Wan'Dale Robinson. Last week, 8 targets, 7 catches, 61 yards. The week prior, 2 catches, 18 yards, and a touchdown, only on 4 targets. Week 1, 12 targets, 6 catches, 44 yards. Is he potentially a spot start in a tight spot if you need some wide receiver help?
You're talking like your dynasty league. Like if you're deep and you have a 12 or 14 man league and you start 3 receivers with a flex, and that's the only way I'm looking at Wan'Dale Robinson. I know there was some noise for him after week 1 because he had so many targets. It's kind of died down from that. You're seeing a lot more Malik Neighbors now. So I just think Malik – I said before the season started, I think Malik Neighbors is going to be the main guy here who gets the most targets. So
he has been. He certainly has been.
He's actually been targeted the most in the whole league.
Yeah,
so
he's killing it.
37 targets so far. And Wan'Dale Robinson, 24. The problem, he had 12 week 1, and then obviously 12 combined weeks 2 and 3. So he's worth looking at. If you're really desperate, I'd go with it. It's just hard to trust. He's one guy that's hard to trust.
Yep.
And he is the wide receiver too. He's actually probably the number 2 option. They don't even have a tight end. They don't have a running back that can catch. So he is the number 2 option. It's just hard to trust the number 2 option with the Daniel Jones-led quarterback team.
Good call. Good call.